Have you ever wondered, how do you keep your voice hydrated on the road? Hashtag vocal health? Oops. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For anyone that is new here, my name is Rachel. For anyone that's a regular, welcome back. In this video, I'm gonna talk about my actor toolbox, as I'm gonna call it. Essentially, they're items that I've come across in my 10 years as a professional performer that have kind of become essential to me keeping vocally healthy or having on hand in case I do get sick. So I'm gonna give you my top 10 items, must-haves as a vocalist. If you have any more questions about them, feel free to comment. I will also list all of them below. So here we go. The first few items I'm going to talk about are going to be focused specifically on the issue of hydration. So all of my singers and actors out there, you guys know how vital it is to constantly be hydrating to keep your vocal cords happy and healthy. You can't just wake up the morning of a performance and expect to drink a lot of water and it help. It's not going to. You need to be consistent with your water consumption. So the first thing I'm going to share with you guys is the Hidrate Spark. This one I believe is the second edition. There is a third now. And essentially this tracks my water intake with an app on my phone. So you set a goal for yourself. My personal goal is 100 ounces a day. It sounds like a lot. It is. But so if I'm halfway through the day and I'm way behind my target, this will actually flash and remind me to drink more water. So when you're in rehearsals and things like that, you know, you consume a lot of water and you probably don't need to remind yourself to drink water. But whenever you're sitting at home or working on your laptop or things like that, or especially on travel days are the worst, it's helpful to have a reminder to continue hydration because it's the basics of keeping your vocal cords lubricated. So that is item number one, the Hidrate Spark. So the second item I'm going to talk about as far as hydration is having a humidifier. Now the one I'm going to show you is actually my travel humidifier. And I do recommend if you are going to be in a place for a long time or if it's just at your home, I do recommend getting a larger humidifier that you don't need to fill as often. However, it is, to me, very important to have a travel size version of everything because I do travel a lot. So this is my travel sized version. And as you can see, it's very small. It's about the size of a mug. It's made out of plastic, so it's very light, easy to pack. And it has a filter built into it. It does do a cool mist. So it's, you know, you're not gonna have to worry about bacteria and things like that. I do recommend obviously keeping it clean. But the beauty of this is when you're traveling, you're in hotels, things like that, where your voice is being put in an environment that is inconsistent, it is helpful to keep the air around you moist. And you know, it's good for the rest of your hair and skin and stuff too, but specifically for your voice, having a humidifier is really important. I do recommend having a travel size version as well if you're traveling and performing often. Now, this item is something that I am sure all of you singers out there either already have or have used in the past, and that is a steamer. Now, there are a million different versions of the steamer. There is hot steam, cool steam. A lot of people like the pure mist. It's just a matter of preference. I do personally prefer hot steam whenever I am steaming because it's actually been scientifically proven that steaming will help you as a vocalist, but it only really helps the upper part of your voice, if you will. It will help with your sinuses and congestion and things like that, but it's not actually necessarily getting that hydrating steam down to your vocal cords. So for me, I get more of a benefit inhaling steam when it is hot. So I personally use the Vic steamer, but there are so many of them. I recommend just trying them out, see which ones work best for you. Some of them have different face shapes, things like that. But it is a really important item, especially whenever you are getting over being sick, or if you have a lot of congestion or postnasal drip, things like that. This can be really incredibly helpful. So it's something that I do travel with, even though it is a little bulky. I think it's a really important part of your vocal toolkit. Okay, so that brings me to number 4, and this is the last of the hydration section of my Vocalist toolbox. And it's the one that I actually like the most, but I find the least number of people actually own. And it is a nebulizer or vaporizer. So this is my travel size version. You can see it comes with a regular nozzle. It also has a mask attachment, and it runs on batteries. It does have a plug as well, depending on, you know, your situation when you're traveling. But what this does, unlike the steamer, which only breaks water down to a certain molecular level, this breaks it down even smaller. So it allows you to inhale water or saline and get the benefit all the way down to your vocal cords instead of keeping it kind of local to your resonating chambers. So this is a game changer for me. And the little, like, it's so tiny and cute, like, and it's great to just toss in your bag. It's also really good if you are, once again, coming back from an illness, because saline on your voice, if you have not experienced that, I highly recommend that you give it a try. It does a lot to help soothe and lubricate the vocal cords. So yeah, if you haven't tried a nebulizer or a vaporizer, I do recommend it. I do also have a larger version that lives in my apartment, but this is the one that I travel with, and it's an absolute must-have. Okay, so we've covered hydration. This next section is what I call my consumables. So these are things that I may take with me, consume, but they're not items that I'm reusing. And the first one is something that all singers and actors are very passionate about, and that is some sort of tea. Now, so many people are in love with throat coat. I personally love throat coat, but I actually have one that I prefer, and it's ginger honey crystals. If you can't tell, I really like them. So we all know that ginger and honey are very, very good for the voice. Ginger is an anti-inflammatory, honey is an antimicrobial, and so basically this is the best of both worlds. Now you can hear it. They're little crystals, you put them in water, they dissolve, and if you don't like ginger, stay away because they're rather spicy. But honestly, this is one of those things that I make before every single show, and it just does magical, wonderful things. So hop online. I've seen them in my grocery stores from time to time, but because I use so many, I always buy the big pack from Amazon. So yes, some sort of tea, throat coat, honestly, anything, any sort of heated liquid is gonna be great for soothing your voice as well as the muscles around your throat, because that tends to be where things get tight. And yeah, so that would be number 5 on my list, is some sort of tea. So moving right along, we are on to number 6, and these are another absolute must-have for me. These are Pastilles. If you haven't used these before, these were actually recommended to me by a friend of mine who played Alphaba on the national tour, and I've been obsessed with them ever since. So whenever, you know, if you have seasonal allergies or you have a cold or you're just tired and you kind of get that gravelly, dry voice, and so you try using cough drops, but most cough drops have menthol, which is terrible for your voice. So then you try to use some of the, like, again, lemon and honey drops and things like that. Those are great. Anything without menthol, I do recommend. However, Pastilles are specifically made out of glycerin. So these, they have no like side effects. They basically just melt essentially and coat your throat with glycerin. And glycerin, we know scientifically, is a really great lubricant. So these are actually quite large. If you want to put a whole one of these in your mouth, it takes a long time for these to dissolve. So what I actually do is I cut them in half, and I just keep a little tin of them in my dressing room. And even if I'm really under the weather, I will actually stick one in my mouth, and I can do an entire show with one of those in the back of my mouth, and it just allows glycerin to continuously coat your throat. I don't know if that's an overshare, but it is a fun trick of the trade, and honestly, these things are wonderful. They come in a gigantic box in multiple flavors. I do recommend the sugar-free, and yeah, they're wonderful. Please give them a try. Please don't use anything menthol unless it's specifically at night when you're not singing. That's my best advice to any one of you. So on to our last item in the consumable category. This is one that not everyone necessarily subscribes to these, but I like them. They've worked for me, and that is essential oils. Now, obviously, I don't bring all of these with me all the time. But I have seen a lot of benefit from using them on occasion for multiple things. So the first one I would recommend is any kind of essential oil that is recommended as a breath support. Those typically have either eucalyptus or peppermint, things like that, which you can use kind of in place of like Vicks, but they are more concentrated. So for example, I can take a couple drops of peppermint, rub them on my hands, and inhale them directly, and it'll clean your sinuses right out. It's great. Also, whenever you're dealing with a lot of phlegm, I'll actually do a gargle with peppermint, lavender, and lemon. Gargle and then swallow it, which again, I don't honestly know the science behind it, but it works. So to me, if it works, I'm fine with it. I'll carry it. So yeah, it's something that, you know, if you believe in essential oils, great. If you don't, it's totally okay. Everyone's voice is very individual and needs different TLC, but one of my must-haves for me personally is my essential oils. I normally only travel with like 4 of them, but this is my big bag full. But yeah, so that is it for our consumables, and that will take us on to number 8. So the next 2 are going to be specifically items that I recommend as far as technique. So the first would be the belt box. I know so many of you already have this. I do highly recommend it if you don't already have one. This is the older version. It didn't have the removable interior, so the newer version is an upgrade, so you can take it out and clean it. But this is great because when you're traveling, especially, you can be as loud as you want and no one can hear you. So, you know, you can do a siren in your room, or honestly, outside of an audition. I do that a lot. I will take this thing to Pearl Studios in New York and go do a siren in the corner because you're not allowed to warm up anywhere. So you can, and your neighbor's not gonna hate you. So I do highly recommend the belt box or something along these lines to allow you to warm up freely without, you know, feeling like you're disturbing others. And yeah, so definitely, if you don't already have a belt box, take a look at them. It's worth a try. So this next item I am actually really excited to share with you guys. I'm actually going to do a deep dive into this item specifically in the next couple of weeks. I just want to make sure I'm really up on all the latest training and science behind it before I go too far into it. But anyway, so many of you singers, you are familiar with the straw technique. Now this is gonna look a little different than the straw that you used in your, you know, your voice lesson, which was probably plastic and from a McDonald's cup. I'm just kidding. But so this is actually from a company called The Voice Straw. So they have come along with a full range of different sizes of straws because depending on the length of the straw, the diameter of the straw, it actually affects the amount of resistance when you're using it for your breath control. So as anyone that's done breath work with the straw technique, you know that it's used to help open up the resonating chambers in the back of your throat and to help really just line up your instrument. So it's very popular whenever you're using it as a warm-up technique. But another amazing thing about the voice straw is they have come up with the ability to add a collapsible cup to it. So, because one of the things I used to dislike about the straw technique is it's very limiting. You know, there's only so many times you can be like, that's great, but there's only so many exercises you can do with just a straw. This, you actually place the straw into the cup, and so you can feel it through your mouth and full on be belting. Full on be belting. It's also really great for anyone that does a lot of like on stage speaking that feels tension in their throats. Using something like this is a game changer. But like I said, I'm gonna do a deeper dive into the voice straw in the next week or two. There's a lot of really interesting science coming out about it, and specifically using the cup edition, because it to me, I hadn't done the voice straw in a very long time until I received this kit. And yeah, I'm just really excited about sharing it with you guys. So make sure to check back. This is going to be on the channel again very soon. Okay, so that brings us to number 10, the last item, or in this case items, in my Vocalist toolbox. Now, this one is a little more specifically for traveling performers, as opposed to someone that, you know, maybe doing a several month sit down. But for any of my roadies that are spending a lot of your time flying specifically, you know how difficult it is to use your voice either the same day or the day after a flight. Because, fun fact, the air on an airplane is actually drier than the air in the desert. I know, I lived in Las Vegas. So, what I recently got, and I'm a little obsessed with it, it's called the Humidifier. So essentially, you put it on during your flight, like this. Isn't it attractive? But basically what it does is it seals in the moisture from your own breath as you're exhaling and recycles it back in when you inhale fresh air. So instead of breathing the dry, recirculated air on the plane, you're breathing in your own breath in a way, but just the humidity from your own breath. So I actually used this about 2 months ago, and from a flight from New York to London, and then from London to New York, and I popped off that flight like a spring daisy ready to sing because of this thing. So I highly recommend this to anyone that is traveling often and has to deal with really quick turnarounds and things like that. So, part one of masks, if you will. So I do have one more item to show you. It's kind of a bonus, but if you travel a lot when, as an entertainer, we all know that we're facing a lot of risk as far as the quality of air, as well as, you know, illness. People with the cold, people with the flu, and we're kind of in a time now where we're becoming more aware of it. So I think that's a good opportunity for us as vocalists to really understand the importance of the air that we breathe. So something that I will use if I'm traveling but I'm not on a plane is actually just a regular cotton mask. Now this one was custom made for me by my amazing friends over at Bad Juju Masks. It actually says #VocalHealth. I love it. It's cotton, so you can wash it, reuse it. So this is something that I would use, you know, anytime I'm traveling and I'm going to be around a lot of people. I can't guarantee the air quality. You could potentially be dealing with sick people. This is just a really, and it's, I mean, it's tiny. Just toss it in your bag. And it's a better way to, you know, help prevent illness in the future. So there you have it, my friends. Those are my top 10 singer must-haves, my vocalist toolbox, if you will. And if you have any other questions, or if you have an item that you think is like your go-to thing, please comment below. Let me know. I love learning about, you know, new vocal things and tips and tricks because I'm a gigantic nerd. So if you've got any thoughts, or if you've used some of these things and you've had good or bad experiences, please let me know, because, you know, this is how we become educated as performers. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want any more information on any of those items, check the description box. I will have them all linked there. and I will see you next time.